Two wickets from Shabnim Ismail and Sammy Joe Johnson, and that thunderous hit by Heather Knight sees Sydney Thunder pass Melbourne Stars for the second WBBL title. Sydney Thunder are the WBBL 6 champions, and let's talk about that game on Avnir Presents The Outside View. I have with me Ananya, Upendran's company. Ananya, first up, I have to come to you because your department, that is seam bowling, was the impressive thing that we saw in the finals. Shabnim Ismail's opening spell. This match was pretty much about that. Shabnim Ismail's 2 for 12. So your first thoughts about that?
I thought both opening bowlers, in fact, Shabnam Ismail and Sammy Joe Johnson were both brilliant. They got the ball to swing. I think this was one of the first games where we saw the ball move as much as it did in the entire tournament. And I think, aside from the movement, what was so impressive about them was the lengths that they hit. They got the batters, coming forward, going for the drive, and then just getting it to nip away ever so slightly. And to expose someone of the caliber of Meg Lanning early in her innings, she is sometimes susceptible to that ball on the off stump, on the fourth stump. And, the way that both of them bowled, I thought was exceptional. I think more than the swing, it was the lengths that they hit consistently through those first few overs that really put Sydney Thunder in the driver's seat.
And it almost felt like a test match kind of conditions when the match began, and more so because Melbourne Stars had chosen to bat first. Sorry, and there was this stat floating around that it was just the second time that Lanning chose to bat. But isn't it so that teams, specifically in big matches like the final, prefer batting first, putting a score on board, and then going about defending that?
I mean, I guess so. I guess that's the old adage that you put runs on the board and then put pressure on the team chasing. But I think when you look at Melbourne Stars, it was very surprising for me. One, because Meg Lanning enjoys chasing. She's someone who likes to control a chase and is very good in the second half of a game. But I mean, I guess for me, when she chose to bat first, I was thinking it's potentially because Stars have not maybe it was to take out Thunder's bowling attack, because I think Thunder have defended extremely well even when they haven't gotten great totals. So I think it was possibly a case of not giving Thunder something that they wanted. But yeah, I think everyone was surprised by Lanning's decision. It was something that maybe it was an old adage, but it was surprising coming from her.
Yeah, and it's like your recent memory always hampers you, or always plays a part in what you do next. And that perhaps explains why Stars chose to bat, because Thunder, remember, defended Brisbane Heat. In fact, needed 26 of the last 5 overs in the second semi-final, and we all know the result. Thunder kept their calm, dismissed Heat to win by 12 runs to make to the title clash. So that's a big part, but it also was kind of a scenario where the team, that is Melbourne Stars on this occasion, perhaps instead of playing to their own strengths, tried to minimize the opposition's strengths, and that perhaps was a wrong thought.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, we still not sure what the thought process behind that decision was, but I mean, we heard during the game itself that Trevor Griffin himself was surprised that Melbourne Stars had chosen to bat. So I suppose it was going back, and I guess also if you look at the history of the WBBL, it's the teams that are chasing that have won. So it was an interesting decision. It backfired on them at the end of the day. But I guess with Melbourne Stars, they've had such a perfect tournament. They've had a fairy tale almost, and it all came crashing down. They didn't peak towards the end, and it kind of, I guess, the law of averages caught up with them.
Or can you say that fairy tales exist just in books and not in reality? Because it almost was turning out to be a fairy tale campaign for the Melbourne Stars, who finished bottom last season, got a revamped squad, brought in Meg Lanning, brought in Trent Woodhill, and all those things to changed up everything. And they won those many games. Remember, they were the first to qualify for the semis, and then and that too on the back of some momentum losing games. So towards the end, it kind of was mixed results, but it almost seemed that WBBL 6 was Stars to kind of lose, and that's what happened eventually.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it did look like everything was pointing towards Stars. They had, they had performed exceptionally well through the league stage. They were by far the best team in the competition going into the latter half. And I mean, I was a bit skeptical because, again, I'm someone who believes heavily in the law of averages. I feel like at some point you're going to have a bad game, and it's better to get it out of the way, in the beginning itself. But of course, these Australians are used to winning. They're used to, I suppose, having long streaks of wins, so they don't believe in that. I mean, Lanning herself has captained a team that's won 21 ODIs on the trot, so I guess she doesn't believe in those things. But it's it did look like, if you look at the teams on paper, Melbourne Stars were by far the better team. Sydney Thunder, I think, had a lot of bits and pieces players who I think played more than or did more than they was expected of them. Someone like Samantha Bates, Hannah Darlington, I think they pulled more weight than they were expected to. And it also helped that the senior players like Heather Knight, like Rachel Haynes also fired. And I think it was Thunder winning was because of the team. The entire team, I think, contributed at different phases of the tournament, and that served them well. Whereas Melbourne Stars were very top heavy, we saw. And when the middle order was exposed, they didn't have enough game time to, I suppose, use that experience when it really counted in the final.
Right, for all those who are watching, just drop in your questions. We'll be happy to take them. But talking about WBBL final, last 5 occasions, 4 times it so happened, as you said, Ananya, that teams chasing have won. And at the halfway stage, where Melbourne Stars finished at 86 for 9, given Meg Lanning's reputation, given Meg Lanning's achievements as a T20 captain for Australia, given her tactical nuances, did you still believe that there was a scope for Stars to kind of cause an upset? That's what we could have called, given that where they were at the halfway stage. Did you believe that they had the scope to kind of turn it around and still make a match of it?
Well, honestly, not. I mean, I think when you're defending 86 or 87, you need everything to go your way. You need every single chance to go to hand. You need every umpiring or every 50-50 call to go your way. And I think, with Melbourne Stars, their attack, they would have needed Catherine Brunt to probably get a couple of wickets in her first 2 overs. And when that didn't happen, it just felt like, with the experience of someone like a Heather Knight, someone like a Rachel Haynes, it seemed, or it appeared too difficult for them to be able to defend a total like that. Maybe if they had 100, 110, things would have looked slightly different. That's probably a trickier total. But I think 86, you have so much more time to play yourself in, and with the experience that they had in the bank, I didn't see Melbourne Stars causing an upset or managing to defend that total.
Yes, it was a 7-wicket win for Thunder. It seems clinical when you look at the scorecard, look at the way the match has gone. But it wasn't so, right? Because they've dropped as many as 5 catches on the field. And we always talk about the old adage being catches win matches. Here they are, the champion side of a tournament, not just any other game. They dropped 5 catches. So does it kind of make you think whether catches are as important as we make them out to be?
Well, they definitely are important. I mean, had, I suppose, one of those batters gone on to get a significant score, even a 35 or 40, it would have hit or would have hurt Thunder. And, I think while dropped catches, were, something that we saw regularly through that Melbourne Stars innings, the thing was that they kept offering Thunder chances. So the second time, a batter offered a chance, it was taken. So I think it was the batters not capitalizing on the chances that they were given. And I mean, catches are important. I just think that Melbourne Stars offered too many of them to, I suppose, make anyone feel like catches win matches.
And you can't look beyond Meg Lanning even in this case, because all good examples have Lanning in them. But even this one had her. She offered an early one to Tammy Beaumont at backward point. She dropped it. And even when she was mic'd up, she kind of had those bad memories of Meg Lanning's 133. where she had dropped her on some 80 odd runs. So even despite Lanning getting a second chance, she couldn't capitalize. Did you ever, from the body language of Lanning, feel that she's under some kind of pressure? Because remember, she was Stars were an overwhelming favorites in this contest, given the way they've kind of played in this tournament. So did that kind of affect her adversely? Did you see that in her body language?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think she's kind of, or all the Australian internationals are used to this kind of pressure, used to the spotlight being on them. They've won several World Cups, and Meg Lanning herself has captained her team to World Cup. So I don't think she was under pressure that way. But I mean, I guess you could see that her feet were not moving as efficiently. She wasn't. I guess you could say she wasn't as switched on as she was early on in the tournament. And I think that's probably one of the things is it's a night game. You kind of have so much time to dwell on things, to think about it. A lot of the times you end up playing your innings through the morning or through the afternoon, and you're tired before you get to the ground, or you've already batted a complete innings before the game starts. And I think both Lanning and Villani, their feet weren't really to the ball, and it I guess what exposed them more was the fact that the ball was moving, and they didn't cover the line. I don't think it was pressure of the occasion. I wouldn't think that that affects Meg Lanning, or she just appears like an ice woman. But it was probably just a case of she wasn't switched on early enough, and that probably cost them.
A word more, a bit more on Hannah Darlington, who returned 1 for 18. She kind of came into the attack when things were quite a bit sort of the sharpness at the top was already chopped off, and she had to kind of do the containing job. Yet she turned up and picked up a wicket. And as they say, the second season syndrome didn't strike her, so she's been really good. And the final also kind of highlighted what she brings to the table. She wasn't expensive, just 18 in her 4 overs. Did you feel that she used the movement and also the pitch to her advantage tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think what Hannah Darlington has showed through this tournament is that her plan is very simple. When she comes in the middle overs, she takes pace off the ball, tries to bowl very full and straight, and sets her fields very straight. So I think she did bowl well. She bowled well through the tournament. She's kind of controlled that middle period, not made run scoring easy. She's forced the batters to work for their runs. And we saw through the Thunder's bowling innings that even though the top had gone, she was as intense, she was as focused on getting her plans right. I thought her slower balls were very good today. And with Hannah Darlington, there has been consistency. She's shown improvement from the last season, of course, but I think what's been very impressive is that she's carried that form through the entire 16 games that Thunder have played. She's been very consistent. She's been that, I suppose you could call her a bankable player, and to call a 19-year-old a bankable player is a big thing, I would say.
86 to defend, as experienced opening bowlers, Catherine Brunt and Natalie Severs started off well, but the score wasn't really enough, for them to even experience people like them to step up and do something. But 4 overs for 17 from Sever and 4 overs 24 for 1 from Brunt. Do you think they tick their boxes as far as their class and quality are concerned?
Well, I mean, I think in this kind of a defense, like I said earlier, you need your internationals to strike early. And while they did bowl, I suppose, well, the numbers they weren't defending much, so I guess 4-17 doesn't look bad. But I don't think that they would have done what Melbourne Stars required. To be able to even challenge or to be able to push Thunder and put pressure on them. But I think what was interesting is we didn't see as much movement when the Stars had the ball. The ball didn't seem to be moving as much. It looked like Rachel Treneman and Tammy Bowman both had were able to cover the swing, I suppose, whatever little movement there was. And I don't think they did what Stars would have wanted them to do, but again, those numbers don't look bad. So I guess it was a really uphill task, but if anyone could have done it, I guess you would back Catherine Brunt too.
And perhaps what didn't make matters easy for them was that they were bowling to a Heather Knight, who's kind of found form in this throughout this tournament. Tammy Beaumont also found hitting form late towards the close. But let's move to the questions. But before that, it's been, remember, 7 wicket win for Sydney Thunder for their second WBBL title. So 6 seasons have gone by with 2 titles for Sydney Sixers, 2 for Sydney Thunder, and 2 for Brisbane Heat. But remember, it's been a three-peat. Let's touch upon that. And then yeah, you cheekily brought it up when we were looking forward to this game at the start. That Sammy Jo Johnson, she's been there with Brisbane Heat twice, and here she is completing a three-peat. And it's just not been she's not just been a passenger in this three-peat, but two wickets at the start as well. So that must be a delightful feeling for her, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to move from Brisbane Heat to Sydney Thunder and then have the impact that she has had. I think she's finished top of the wicket charts as well. So, I mean, for her to I suppose have come into this team and still managed to, while Shabnam Ismail has brought the heat, brought the fire to the attack. I think Sammy Jo Johnson has come in with her cutters at the back end and picked up a lot of crucial wickets. She's been consistent with the new ball, or with, I mean, after the power play, after Sam Bates has bowled with the new ball, and I think she's brought experience. She's brought an understanding of how to win championships, and I think that's what's really helped Sydney Thunder. She's completed a three-peat, which is great for her, and just to have the impact that she's had through this tournament. I think she didn't fire with the bat as much as they would have wanted. She had a couple of cameos at the start of the tournament, but I think just the fact that she's pulled her weight with the ball, I suppose, I'm sure she's been of great value to someone like Hannah Darlington, helping her with bowling plans and understanding how to go about things in the depth. I'm sure she's going to be really happy, and a big addition to the Sydney Thunder squad. So, who knows? Maybe she's going to go for a 4 next year.
That's interesting. But 2 for 11, and there wasn't any 2 wickets there. One of them was Mignon du Preez, and the other one Erin Osborne. 7 wicket win for Sydney Thunder to end the 6th season of Women's Big Bash League. It seemed to be a one-sided final, but remember, the entire tournament was not as this game wasn't a representation for the entire tournament. All right, let's move towards some questions. First up, there's an interesting one that I saw on Twitter, Ananya, and it was specifically directed at you. On a scale of 1 to 10, it was Vinayak, a mutual guy we know. He asked, on a scale of 1 to 10, how delighted were you to see that opening spell from Thunder's bowlers?
Well, I was drooling, to be honest, just to see them move the ball like they did, and for it to happen in a final. I think the best. While I was really impressed with Darcy Brown, with Stella Campbell, and Tess Flintoff through the tournament, just to see quality swing bowling in a tournament like this, and the pace of Shabnam Ismail to come in with that fire. She really set the tone. That first over to Villani, I thought, was brilliant, and then followed up by Sammy Jo Johnson. I think it was coupled with the movement. It was the lengths that they hit consistently, and able to get just a bit of movement to beat the bat consistently and have them feeling for the ball. I was, on a scale of 1 to 10, probably at 11.
You can't really bet against a bowler who's kind of troubling Meg Lanning with the form that she's in. There's another interesting one where he asked, on another alternative reality, would Stars have done differently what they did at the toss? We heard from the man himself, Trent Woodhill, saying they would have, again, probably batted first and posted a tall total. But do you think there was a scope for that rethink, and they might have done things differently a bit?
Maybe, but I think, having seen how Trent Woodhill has worked, even in the men's game, he's been someone who said that you attack from the get-go and take the game by the scruff of the neck. And we saw even in that 10-over mark where he went to talk to the batters, he just kept telling them, keep pushing, keep going for your shots. And that's exactly what Annabelle Sutherland did. Again, it didn't pay off, but I think he's always someone who's backed his players to I suppose, be very attacking. I think sometimes the shot selection wasn't the best, and I think that's what hurt them more than anything else. It's just in the fact that they weren't able to capitalize on the chances they got, and while Thunder bowled really well at the start. I think it was more a case of, the shot selection wasn't the best. I don't think that the batters got all 9 wickets. It was a case of maybe 4 or 5 of them just threw their wickets away simply because maybe they went too hard, or Mignon Dupree said on mic that they didn't adapt to the conditions as quickly as they should have. So it's possibly a case of like bad shot selection, not adapting to the conditions, and maybe that's what they would want to do better if they're given a do-over.
Right. Here's the next one by a user named Prajin. He asked, do you think this WBBL will have an impact on the selection of national squad, where we could see Alana King, Bates, etc. in the squad, and will it be same as previous? What's your take? You see these newbies coming up to the national squad. First of all, is there spot for new players?
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, is their place. I mean, we've seen Alana King is probably competing with someone like Georgia Wareham for a spot. I suppose Samantha Bates competing with Jess Jonathan and Sophie Molyneux. So, how do you, I suppose, depose these players and get your place? And we've seen Matthew Mott talking about how he wants players who can at least do 2 skills well. And, someone like Samantha Bates, the problem with her is she's a pure bowler. She's not going to be able to replace a Jess Jonathan or a Sophie Molyneux, who are essentially all-rounders and who open the batting or bat in the top order for their WBPL teams, whereas Sam Bates is probably a number 10 or a number 11. But Alana King is actually very interesting for me. She's someone who's very fiery with the ball, very good. She had a very good tournament, and she's also someone who can hit the ball big. We saw that against the Renegades, where she came in and bombed like 3 sixes or something. So that's someone who's very interesting, probably can compete for a place, but I think she's kind of far off. Probably Amanda Jade Wellington is also in that race. So the race for the leg spin spot it's going to be interesting, but I don't see, them dropping Georgia Wareham anytime soon. Don't think she's done anything wrong.
And more so that she showed what she can do with the bat as well, Georgia Wareham, this season before going out injured. But final thoughts from you. You had picked Sydney Sixers when we had previewed this tournament. Before the match, you said Melbourne Stars. Are you disappointed, or a green side? Any green side on a green day works?
Well, any side works, but if I'm to reveal my secret, which I know that I'm a jinxer. So I was secretly hoping that Sydney Thunder wins, but I knew that if I said it aloud, they'd probably get thrashed. So
we as Melbourne Stars fans or supporters should have known there's a Trojan horse somewhere.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would have been happy either way. I think Melbourne Stars have, like I said, have been the dominant team through the tournament, but Sydney Thunder for me, just the fact that they came in as a team and performed as a unit. Everyone contributed at different times. So I think that was what was most impressive to me.
In the lead up to the competition at the very start, we had previewed the tournament where I was kind of hoping that the green team comes to the final. In fact, Thunder were one of my favorites because, like England's men's World Cup campaign in 2019, there was a mini campaign, an unofficial one, to give them the trophy because of the jersey. I had kind of said that we should perhaps give Thunder the trophy because of the jersey. Probably this kind of sets a precedent that whenever you campaign for a side for the jersey, it'll automatically come up victorious. So probably the easiest task is to not get into the prediction part of things, but just talk about the jersey color and the trophy for the jersey. All right. So that concludes the 59-game WBBL 6, which was inside a bio bubble in Sydney. 5 venues in that one city where all the teams were in a bio bubble. They were in and out, seeing each other every other day, be it the same team or the other. All that comes to a close today. They'll be glad to come out of this bubble, head home, and get back to their daily lives. That's it from us from this edition of Avnir Presents The Outside View. Hope you liked it.